Hello, welcome to a video lecture that I prepared for you with my comments and concerns on your rough drafts of the profile podcast assignment. First of all, I wanted to encourage you to remember the typical problems with this essay section from the assignment sheet. And let's go over those. First one, focus. So working with more than one subject, a profile should focus on a particular subject. Writing about something other than a person, place, establishment, activity, or thing. Didn't see any problems with that. Let's see. Lack of substantial field research, which would contribute important details. I did see some kind of glossing over of the research process, and so I wanted to caution against that. And also, second from the bottom, creation of pure narrative prose, thus missing the expository nature of the profile assignment, and saw some of that. And then also watch your tone. Try not to be, engaging in this advertising or PR language. Okay, some other comments and concerns that I have. With this assignment, it's okay to use I in this paper, but be sure to keep the focus on your topic rather than on you. So sometimes when we use I too much, we kind of get into that reliance on narration, which turns this into a personal narrative, which we don't want to do. That was the first assignment. Also, it's an example of what we call author intrusion. So we don't need the author so much throughout the essay. So kind of sounds narcissistic if you're kind of the focal point the whole time. So another thing, I think I just saw this. I'm not sure in which section of 120, but I would say don't introduce new information in your conclusion. So if there's new information, then put it in the body and then have your conclusion after that. So also make sure your conclusion is worthy of your overall essay. We don't want an underdeveloped conclusion. So okay, also remember that a profile has very little to do with memories. Fresh observations are needed. And I saw some examples of people writing about things that they're overly familiar with, something that they already belonged to. So instead of extending yourself and going outside yourself and finding out something new about the world, you kind of wrote about what you already knew. And this relies too much on memories. And again, it's just not engaging in any field research, primary research to try to find things out. You already knew much of this. So also would caution you against what I call the when asked, they responded format for relating information from interviews. Again, this is an example of author intrusion when asked. So we don't need the when asked part, but engage in writing to set up whatever the response was. So if you just have Q&A, 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 it's kind of lazy. And also, when asked, they responded. It's basically Q&A. So avoid that. Okay. And then also, I would say avoid using the term review for whatever you're profiling. Our next assignment is an evaluation analysis essay. And so one of the things is I encourage you to kind of follow a fairly standard format or structure for reviews. And so while it's kind of tempting with the profile to turn it into review, try to avoid doing that. Okay, so again, remember the typical problems with this essay section from the assignment sheet and try to avoid those things, particularly creation of purely narrative prose, and lack of substantial field research, and writing about something that you already knew, that you were familiar with, so relying kind of on memories and not on finding out something new. Okay, also, it's okay to use I in this paper, but try to keep the focus on your topic rather than on you. Don't introduce new info in your conclusion. Make sure your conclusion is worthy of your overall essay. Remember that a profile essay has very little to do with memories, so we need these fresh observations. And avoid the when asked, they responded format for interviews. And avoid using the term review, because we're going to be dealing with that with the evaluation analysis assignment next. So those are my comments on your rough drafts of your profile assignment, and asking you to work toward an intermediate draft for next week. And by that, I want to convert this, so you might need to make some revisions to your written draft based on what I've talked about here today. But also, now let's start to move this to an audio essay. So work on anything that I addressed in this video lecture, and then also work on recording your essay, and we're going to turn it into a podcast by the end of the week. Okay, so that's all I've got. Thanks for listening, and I'll be talking to you soon.